U.S. government agencies, including the Department of Defense, are taking concerted steps to implement a zero trust architecture to protect critical systems and data. Those efforts, including meeting specific cybersecurity standards and objectives by the end of fiscal year 2024. I'm Wyatt Cash at Scoop News Group, and here to talk about that effort at the Department of Education is the department's Chief Information Security Officer, Stephen Hernandez. Stephen, thank you so much for joining us.
Wyatt, thank you for having me today.
Well, there's a lot to do. Tell us a little bit about what your top priorities in the next year are regarding zero trust, and looking maybe a little further over the next 3 years to meet the federal zero trust security requirements.
What a big question, Wyatt, and a very important one for all the folks at department and agencies. Whether you're in the CIO shop or in the program area, this is going to impact all of us if it hasn't already. At the Department of Education, where we're focused right now is in a couple big areas. One, making sure we already leverage investments that are square in the zero trust space. Things like identity, credentials, access management, or ICAM. These are things that we've been doing for years, doing well. And now as we move towards modernization and zero trust, we want to make sure that we're taking everything that we've got that we can leverage and then finding those small gaps and making sure we're building them out. Additionally, we're looking at a lot of our what we call control fabric, or some folks call this the policy enforcement points. What do we already have on the books in terms of our maybe software defined networking, maybe our existing data lakes around security information and event management, or SIEMs? Where do we have those existing investments we need to align? And as we look forward, we're really looking at that next iterative step. For us, that's a lot of work around security orchestration, automation, and response. So bringing more automation and more agile thinking to how we're working with security, both proactively and reactively. And then also really around the realm of, for us, what we call secure access service edge, or SASE. It's always fun to say. And SASE is about modernizing the idea of a hardware or a physical perimeter-based type of approach into more of a cloud-based agile approach as we monitor the interactions between our organization and untrusted networks like the open internet.
Well, as you know, so many departments and agencies face a lot of silo issues. Talk to us a little bit about how the Department of Education is planning to implement zero trust principles across multiple networks or domains or functional silos.
Yeah, that is a question near and dear to my heart. When we look at the department, we hold a third of the nation's personally identifiable information. We have $1.7 trillion accounts receivable. We have an incredible education mission about making sure education is available to anybody who's seeking it. And what that boils down to is a lot of partnerships. Just in like federal student aid, we have over 6,000 partners that we work with to facilitate, administer, and execute this program. When we look at the cloud service providers and vendors we work with, we have almost 40 of the major cloud service providers in our environment, whether it's software as a service, all the way down through infrastructure. And so for us, the silos become really, in many ways, contractual silos. Do we have a contract that isn't working for us in terms of that bidirectional security and risk conversation? And in some cases, a program or a relationship type of silo where federal student aid's been around for decades now. From a program perspective, with these 6,000 partners, are we having the right conversations with them about increasing security, getting risk visibility back and forth to make their program stronger and protect our interest in protecting citizens and students?
Well, that sounds like a massive array of partners to have to contend with. Really appreciate the scope of that for you. Next, let me ask, federal agencies have a lot of additional compliance requirements as they approach cybersecurity that's codified by law. What concerns do you have about federal zero trust adoption to ensure agencies are actually able to achieve comprehensive versus just a sort of check the box security protection method?
It's a fantastic question. And the good news is inherent in how zero trust architecture is designed, it's going to be exceptionally hard to check the box and say, yeah, I'm doing it. Because things like enterprise-wide log management, where we're bringing in logs from all systems into one centralized function, so we can review it, not just historically, but proactively. These are things where it's like, you're either doing it or you're not. And it's going to be very hard to say, well, I've got a third of the portfolio doing it, and so I'm going to try to check that box. That's not what the OMB memos say, and that's not what the architecture says. So we're starting off with the right blueprint to make sure this isn't a compliance exercise, but we're really managing risk. The other part is that we have to be willing to talk about sharing. And that's not just the threat information, which is the first part of the executive order on cybersecurity, but it's throughout the executive order. And the M memos around zero trust talks about just how vital sharing information between systems, between programs, between organizations is going to be. And if we're not thinking about how we're going to construct those relationships now, they are going to be an impediment later. And so I think that's an important area that we should be at the forefront of our minds as well.
Well, those are some really important and significant observations. So thank you for sharing that. And Stephen Hernandez, as always, thank you for taking a few minutes to share your insights on a really important topic in the federal government around zero trust architecture.
My pleasure. Have a great day.
Thank you.